Good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of Beer Rating with Sean O'Connor. It's that time of month again. The beer box is in. And what this is, the beer club that I joined, actually me and my buddy James. Every month they send us a dozen beers, 6 different beers, 2 of each. So it's great for splitting with a friend. So this just came in, so I'm going to crack it open and see what I got. With that being said, I'm probably not going to get to review all these. It's the last day of November. Tomorrow the Advent starts, and I have a beer Advent calendar. So that's going to take up the next 24 days after tonight. Now with that calendar, I actually have a few beers. It's a German-Austrian beer calendar. And I had the calendar 2 years ago, and apparently there's about 5 or 6 of the same beers from that time period. So I don't know if I'm going to review them again, or if I'm just going to not do an official review that day. Just drink. I'm obviously still going to drink the beer, but I don't know if I'm going to do a review. It might be interesting if I do, just to see if the review I gave it 2 years ago will be the same as my view today. Alright, so I got the beers. I'm not quite sure what's in there. I do get a newsletter. It tells me a little bit about each beer. So I'll put that aside. Alright, so the first beer is from Brock St Brewing Company, a German dark lager. I do like lagers. And this one is Black Bellows EL9WYE, and this is a Hell's Lager, so another lager. This might be one for tonight, actually. And another one from Brock St Pomegranate Sour, and I do like sours. And then from High Street, a Best Bitter Black Bellows. And yeah, okay, actually, Black Bellows is a brewery, so this is High Street Best Bitter. And then we got a couple baby cans. Patina Irish Red Ale, and that's out of Storm State Brewing Company in London. So I've had actually that brewery a couple times in the beer box. And the Brock St is out of Whitby, Ontario. And the Bellows is out of Collingwood, just north of Toronto. Spent some time up there when I was with the military. And another one from Stay Stormed, New Heart Dry Hop Blonde Ale. And then there's 6 more beer in here, basically repeats. So these are James's beers. I sent a message telling them the beer is in. So which one am I going to have tonight? I've had a couple red Irish ales last little while, so I'm not really in the mood for that. Dry hopped, maybe not tonight. Hell's Lager is a good possibility. Dark Lager I was, but I think the Hells will beat that out. The Best Bitter, not really in the mood tonight. So I have the Hell's Lager of the Pomegranate Sour. I was going to do the lager, the Hells. However, I know in the beer box there's several Hells, and I do like Hells. It's a nice lager. But because I know I definitely got a few of them coming up, I think I'm going to go with the Pomegranate Sour. And Brock St Brewing, as I said, and this is their sour series. For tasting notes, they say high in flavor but low in bitterness. The pomegranate adds a distinct sweet characteristic that combines well with the tartness of the sour. The result is a fruity beer which is very refreshing and lively on the palate. And a little bit about Brock St Brewing. It says was founded by 4 best friends and opened its doors in the public in 2015. Recently moved to its new building in historic downtown Whitby, which is also home to 12 Bistro and Tapworks. Brock St is open daily for sampling, beer sales, and on tour for the weekends. Now, with the Beer Club every month comes a newsletter. Tells you a little bit about the brewery and a little bit about each beer. I'm not going to read a little bit about brewery because I've read a little bit there. If I do the other one, I'll read a little bit more. And it says exactly what I just read. So, and also actually the newsletter is Do You Know? It says, in the days of poor sanitation, not that long ago at all, and still true in some places, beer was one of the few safe ways to stay hydrated. And then it says, canned beer gained consumer popularity as soldiers who had returned home from World War II, familiar and comfortable with cans from their time overseas. That I did not know. The sanitation I did know. I know in the Industrial Revolution, a lot of factories actually give their folks really late beer, session beers. And just throughout history, a lot of times, beer, because it had to be boiled, it was safer, and the alcohol acted as a disinfectant. It was safer than water. And a lot of times it was for subsistence. That's why they say liquid bread. There was a lot of nutrients in it too. Actually, really looking forward to this sour. I wasn't sure what I was in the mood for. I was thinking a lager, but the sour really got me. And like I said, I do enjoy a sour. Get an odor of sourness. If you're familiar with sour beers, it is kind of distinct. Put that up there. Almost like a dark straw flavor, and it is actually extremely cloudy. You can actually see the layers. And cloudiness in craft beers is quite common because a lot of times they're unfiltered. I'm getting the regular sourness, but I'm not getting a lot of fruit flavor from it. Definitely the sourness there. They say low in bitterness, definitely. It's a fruity beer. I'm not getting a lot of fruitness from it. A little bit. Ingredients: water, malt, pomegranate juice, hops, and yeast. It's not bad. I was expecting a little bit more fruitiness to it. But it's nice and sour, which is good for a sour beer, obviously. Rating wise, I don't think it's my favorite sour by any means, but I've definitely had a hell of a lot worse too. My ratings are always out of 5, with a 1 being a drain pour, don't like it, can't finish it. A 2 being, yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I'll finish it. A 3 is a good beer, a 4 is a very good beer, and a 5 would be the best beer I've ever had. Offhand, I'm thinking between a 3 and a 3.5. And with that being said, I think I'm going to give it a 3. It means it's a good beer. There's nothing wrong with by any means, but I was really, really in the mood for a beer. And when I seen that, I was like, that really piqued my interest. So I think I built up a little bit too much because it's not quite as good as I was expecting. I was kind of expecting a little bit more fruitiness to it. There is a bit of fruitiness to it, but not as much as I expected. But it is good. I mean, 3 is a good beer. There's nothing wrong with by any means. So you go, folks, for the Brock Street Brewing Company's Pomegranate Sour 3.0. As I said, the more Advent starts, I'll be cracking open the Advent calendar. Hopefully you can join me then. Until next brew, as always, enjoy responsibly. Cheers.